All right, well, I want to welcome everyone to Can Your Roof Tiles Also Generate Solar Power? Before we get started, I want to say a huge thanks to our platinum sponsor this year, Rheem. Rheem has a heat pump water heaters, which are the future of water heating. They take natural heat out of the air and use it to heat water with zero emissions, directly up to 400% energy efficiency. Rheem offers hybrid water heaters with backup electric resistance at 240 volt to ensure hot water all the time, and 120 volt systems that can quickly replace existing gas water heaters without the expense of electrical upgrades. These work by pulling heated air through a filter, and it's absorbed by R410A refrigerant using a compressor to heat coils wrapped around the tank. You can control your system's heating levels, sense leak detection, track energy use over time, and set a schedule like I do for time of use programs. You can see here when the occupants program this for heating the water, it heats the water on off-peak time through certain utility programs. This can be automatic, so then the water heater stops heating during that higher peak, higher carbon emission and cost time. Plus, there's up to $2,000 from the Inflation Reduction Act for these systems, plus up to $600 to improve the electrical within you or your client's home. So check them out over at rheem.com, heat pump water heaters. And then thanks to our second tier sponsor, Build Equinox. They have an all-in-one heating, cooling, ventilation, filtration device with some humidity control. Smart ventilation energy recovery really is the future. This device detects poor air quality in the home and then ramps up the ventilation to exhaust it. Once it detects that the poor air quality has been improved, then that system ramps back down, saving energy, saving money for your clients. And it has a built-in heat pump system so that you get 100% heat recovery and some conditioning all at the same time. So check them out at buildequinox.com. All right, can your roof tiles also generate solar power? I'm real excited to be introducing this course. My name is Brett Little. I am the education manager here at the Green Home Institute. The Green Home Institute is a nonprofit with a mission to empower people to make healthier and more sustainable choices in the renovation and construction of the places we live. As always, our courses are approved for multiple continuing education units, as well as our certified green home professional designation under the energy, got a few too many labels there, pathway, as well as AIA, health, welfare, and safety, which may make it applicable to your state-based design and contractor license. And then lastly, Passive House Institute US, and you can check for the 5-digit code after you complete the course. So with that, I'm super excited to hand it off to our speakers here today, Diana and Scott. I'll let them introduce themselves and their company, GAF Energy, and what they have to offer here as far as making our roof tiles generate solar power. So Diana, Scott, welcome, and please take it away.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity. Super excited to be on this webinar. My little background about myself: my name is Scott Sumetz. I am the director of enterprise sales for GAF Energy. My background, spent my college years. My father was a contractor of trade, and so I put myself through college around the home and sort of the building materials industry. Subsequently, after college, I got into mortgage banking and was doing energy efficiency mortgages back in the day throughout the 2000s. In 2008, with the housing crisis, I migrated my skill set into financing solar and photovoltaic, and I've been doing that for about the last 12 years in the space. So come from the building trade, always been around the home, kind of remodel and new construction trades, and working with builders, architects, and again, 12 years in solar. So excited to talk to you guys about this kind of revolutionary award-winning product. And I'll turn it over to Diana.
Hey everyone, my name is Diana Blank. Got about a decade in the solar industry as well. My experience, I started with Solar City way back in the day, came up through the Tesla acquisition. My background, I'm an engineer, and my solar experience is mostly on the design side, but specifically in what I used to like to call the redheaded stepchildren markets of solar. So most residential solar in the United States is, re-roof or retrofitting solar onto existing homes. And my specialty is new home construction, and that includes custom homes, tract homes, working with multifamily, small commercial, like anything that really isn't that typical residential homeowner space is what my career has been in. And like Scott, excited to be with GAF Energy, doing something new. Solar industry, really took off about a decade ago in this country, and it's just been solar panels for most of that time. And we are excited to be on the next forefront of the solar revolution in this country, and how we're changing where we get our energy.
That's great. Awesome. Thank you, Diana. So we'll kind of go into a little bit about the company, the parent company that Diana and I work for. We are GAF Energy as part of Standard Industries. Standard Industries really is a global industrial company. I mean, our core focus is on building solutions. And I think we highlight the next generation of performance materials. We've got about we're in about 80 countries with 20,000 employees. Privately held, I think is important to mention, about $10 billion in annual revenue. And really what I like about this slide is 140-year-old history. So, we have this industry expertise. Our organization has been around before the turn of the century in 1900s. And I think that positions us well for credibility, for longevity, especially in a solar space where potentially a lot of this, like Diana mentioned, has been over the last 10 to 15 years with the advent of this, PV 2.0. I think this really lends some credibility to it in terms of, our well positioning for the markets. Want to start with kind of a fun exercise here because I think this is like just level setting. A lot of great smart folks on the call here. So interested to see if we get this. So feel free to chat this in the group. But question: how long do you think 1 hour of sun energy reaching the Earth can power the world? So I'm not sure if everybody's putting in some quotes. Diana,
as you say, please type in the chat. We'd like to make this interactive.
Forever.
Mary says forever. One day.
10 years.
1 year.
1 year. 100 years. I love it. I love it. So here's the answer. So 1 year. How long do you think an hour, 1 hour of sun energy reaching the Earth can power the entire globe for 1 year? So that's the exciting part about photovoltaics. And, it's our jobs to harness that. And we're doing everything we can to make that happen. Question 2, which country do you think generates the most solar energy for their needs? And again, the most solar energy for their own specific needs. Germany would be a great guess. Yes.
Yeah, we had a Spain, China.
Saudi Arabia is good too. Yep. Costa Rica. Yep. There you go, Jerry. Okay. I'll give you the answer. It is Australia. Kansas. I love nice. I got a Kansas call. Good job. I love that. If we can't be, that's great. But Australia, I have a couple slides here that'll show kind of the breakdown of the markets. But okay, third question. In 2021, how many houses do you think had solar installed in the U.S.? 75,000. Okay.
Oh, Brett did his. Good.
50. Yep. Great. Okay.
500,000, 1.5 million.
Yep. Love it. Not enough. I love that. I love the interaction. Okay, good. All right, here's the answer. 630,000 houses had solar installed in the U.S. in 2021. So 630, so just over 500,000. So that's a great number. It's on the rise, has been year over year. Super excited to see the trend continue. And the last one, this one is just, I mean, I even had to guess. I had no clue before I saw the answer, but how much carbon dioxide do you think American solar power offsets every year? And let me give you a clue. It's in metric tons. So 1,000 metric ton or 100 million. All right, 70 million metric tons. So 70 million metric tons. But thank you all for participating. Those are kind of just it kind of gets our mind, kind of open to the idea of, PV photovoltaic, and kind of puts it in perspective in terms of the US, the globe, and kind of what we're doing for the environment, which is a real great thing here. And as you can see, the potential of solar as an energy source is still a little bit behind. We can power the humanity needs for 1 year today. But as you can see, coal obviously has a huge head start, right? You see natural gas there in the blue that's coming up, and then solar that has been. But the idea with solar is it has ranked either first or second in capacity added to the U.S. electrical grid every year since 2013. So again, kind of late to the game, as Diana was saying, the last 10 years. But you can see we're really coming up and trying to make some headway against the the cost stack of carbon dioxide emissions. Let's talk through the next slide here, which I think we'll see the countries with the highest PV penetration. I think there's where Australia comes in. You've got Spain. We saw that come up in the answers. Greece, Honduras, Netherlands, Chile. There's Germany. When I was answering that question myself and trying to I thought Germany, was up there. But good to see them. Japan, Italy, and Israel. I think the evolution of annual PV installations is pretty apparent here from 2011 all the way to 2021, and you can kind of see that slide. And look at the European Union, and the US is still kind of relatively small in comparison to the global solar landscape, but again, growing. The annual global PV demand by PV market, I think, is an interesting slide. You can see Europe with a nice lead. US is up and coming. India's right there, and the rest of the world, kind of combined. And then looking at China, which is really out in front and up and coming and doing a lot of good things over the next few years. This is an interesting slide. I like the outlook for the US PV market. I think, if we look at the costs in more detail, I think the cost reduction in PV modules and the electrical balance of system over the last several years have really helped to push the installations. Traditional panels, by the way, now are about 16% of that cost stack. So, you've seen the drastic reduction in those costs, which has really allowed for us to compete with grid tied energy. I think the labor cost has been flat over the past 5 years. Now we've got some PV power increases and some efficiencies and installations and things kind of creeping up, but again, we've got some increased labor rates over the last few years, so that kind of is a wash. But I think the biggest challenge for solar in the US and the adoption is the customer acquisition cost. I think that's always been kind of a struggle, and Diana and I being in that solar space in the residential for a couple of the larger providers in the US, that cost stack can be about 25 to 40% to find the customer, through that, through those generation activities. And I think that's where, again, then if that pushes down on the margin, it's a challenge for most of these solar companies out there to make money. And so I think like a key proposition for this kind of this industry changing product that we're going to be demoing here today is that we're putting, kind of this emergent of solar into a building material, and we're putting that in the hands of roofers. And I think, the perfect time to go solar is when a roof needs to be replaced and or new construction. And so both of those, this product actually covers both of that, and it's allowing us to then have a go-to-market strategy, which really is, if a roofer is in the living room and it is either redoing a roof without solar or adding a component that has solar already attached in the building component, we think that's a natural way to to kind of grow the market and take market share. Just for example, there's 1.6 million roofs, that annually that are being replaced. So I think, in general, that's, just residential installation roofs with GAF. So we think there's a great value add there. What's really pushing our change, right, is the consumer demand. I think more and more property owners want solar. You guys can probably appreciate that. Talking to the roofing populations, it's in some parts of the country, 1 in 5 customers is asking about solar at a re-roof. Hey, what about solar? Do you have a partnership? And a lot of these, there's no clear-cut answer, but customers and demand, this generation of home buyers is looking for the smart home. They're looking for advancements in technology to include energy efficiencies, and that's obviously why we're all on this call. But photovoltaics and solar really is out in front in terms of a value add, in a lot of the areas that we, really before have never thought of solar areas. This is definitely a national convergence on the horizon, and you're looking at, solar installers are getting into roofing is getting into solar, and so you see this convergence happening. Let's talk a little bit about where we've been. I think this is an important kind of background and kind of level set here. Again, coming from traditional bolt-on solar, I think I guess these next few slides, I in no way am trying to take away from traditional solar progress with rack mount. We came from rack mount. I still think there's a value add there, but I do think there's a fundamental design flaw in the attachment of the racking of mounting of solar. And I think that's what drove me to look for the additional, kind of product scope that this provides as kind of a built-in, where we're not penetrating 160 holes, into a roof, avoiding all the warranties of the roof, and having, waterproofing issues for years to come. And so I think as you could see, and again, I think I've seen dozens of photos over my 12 years in the business where we've penetrated these holes of 160 to hopefully pilot hole that goes in, and then, we miss the rafters. Water finds the hole. It always does, drips onto the sheetrock. And I've seen numerous times where, the sheetrock in the living room has failed and the whole thing has come undone because of one errant pilot hole. And I think that's important when we're talking through, this product, is the avoidance of penetration and the waterproofing mechanism that this provides. I think the other thing that's important to note is all that we talked about, 168,000 solar installations and last year alone. And I think, the silicon that is used, the lifespan of that, even if it's a marine grade, the expansion and contraction with heat or cold on those holes, it's not a matter of, if it's going to fail, when it's going to fail. It's that those things contract and expand. And in the business, in the industry of rack mount, a lot of the manufacturers, the solar installers, I've seen anywhere from as low as a 5-year penetration roof warranty to a 10-year. That's about standard. So what happens to the consumer from years 10 to years 20 or 25 with the economic life of that solar? They're really exposed to they've avoided the warranty on their entire roof. So a solar manufacturer, we're at the mercy of them, kind of covering that hole. And number 2 is, will they be in business? Because they are fairly new. And then number 3 with that is, who's taking care of that if the solar company is out of business? And so I think that's inherently that rack mounted issue that we keep talking about. Again, you have some of this, the infestation, that's common in some parts of the country. Just really does not do well for breaking down the materials. And then, most notably, wiring under the panels. And so you've got this, exposed wiring, if you will. It just creates, hazards, opportunities, things. I've seen chewed wires and all kinds of historical issues with that. So I think, again, not taking away from rack mounted solar, but there's got to be a better way. And I think that's what Diana's going to go through here in just a second in our new products. So Diana?
Scott, have you ever heard if that PV can actually protect the roof as well, because it keeps the sun and the rain, the things that degrade the roof, off of it? Is there any benefit there? Have you heard of that at all?
Absolutely. And so if you think about the clearance, so some of the clearance can be a bad thing and a good thing. I think the clearance that is a bad thing, we just discussed. The clearance that's a good thing is it creates an airflow in there, which naturally creates kind of this, shading mechanism for the existing shingle or the tile and the underlayment. So, there's benefit as well for the rack mount where it will extend the life under the PV. The problem is then you're looking at the elements that's exposed. So once your degradation of your roof happens, again, it's you're replacing the entire roof plane and not just the area underneath. So again, if the whole entire plane was covered, I think you would have an argument that, hey, that may extend the life of a traditional warranty or a shingled roof. But it's often that you have these setbacks and it's kind of squashed, and so you do have degradation that happens around it, and then traditionally we tear off the whole entire plane and reattach. So, but there are some ancillary benefits. Diana, as an engineer, you might be able to answer that a little bit more, but did I cover that?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and I'd actually like to talk to one of the comments that we're seeing here. Mark says, sorry, let me scroll up here. Mark says, install the feet of the solar rack at the same time that you roof or re-roof, fix your missed fasteners before the shingles go on. And then later he says, we are showing poor installations and sometimes refers to a poor job. Yes, exactly. So that's the point. Again, Scott and I come from this place. Like we really don't want to say that we shouldn't ever install panels like this anymore. That's not our message. Our message is that there is a better way to do this. Right at the end of the day, a rack mounted solar is you have a beautiful watertight roof and then you poke a bunch of holes in it. And yes, there are absolutely ways to go back and seal it and do your best to make sure that you don't have problems in the future. But what we're going to talk about is that we have a different way, right? That isn't a fundamental conflict between having a watertight surface and something literally screwed right through it. And I'm just grabbing some of these other comments as we go. The air gap between.
We'll get to those at the end if that's all right.
Okay, great. Yeah, sure.
Go ahead, move forward. Thanks.
Cool. All right. Let's move forward then. Let's talk about BIPV. BIPV stands for Building Integrated Photovoltaic Products. There are a wide variety of BIPV products that exist. Most of us are familiar with roofing products, but BIPV can also include things like siding or cladding on the sides of buildings, windows, skylights, anything that has a PV component that is built into a part of the structure that already is existing and serving a different purpose. And so it's both that integrated, roof and solar or window and solar system that is what BIPV is. So let's go ahead and take a look at some examples of BIPV rooftop solar installations. There have been a lot of attempts at BIPV in the past and currently. Some of them look a lot nicer than others. Some of them are a lot more expensive than others. And there really is a variety here of what is possible, what you can do in this space. I would say that the earlier renditions of rooftop solar really look mostly like a solar panel that's then just attached to the roof. And then we have the very high-end systems, that really is one fully integrated roof that typically has a lot of complexity and a lot of cost associated with that. And so trying to find a middle ground of how to actually bring a product to market that makes sense for everyone, that serves as a roof, also serves as a solar system, and you can actually, obtain it and install it at a decent price is the challenge. And so we'd like to introduce what we're calling the next generation of solar roofing. This is our energy shingle, and I hope that animation is working well for you. But this is our product. We call it the energy shingle. It is a roof shingle. It is part of the roof. It goes on just like shingle, and we have an installation video here we'll get to in a minute, but let me talk through what the components are here briefly. So the bottom portion of the shingle is where the solar cells are. That solar portion of the shingle is really fairly similar to a solar panel, just smaller. We use a mono PERC is the cell type. That's the lingo that we use in the solar industry. Mono meaning monocrystalline. So it is one single, the manufacturing process of the silicone, it is one single crystal, therefore has higher efficiency than the older technology, which is called poly or multicrystalline. Those blue panels that you saw in some of those earlier pictures, that's poly. That is a different manufacturing process than the silicon, and it is less efficient but cheaper and less waste in the manufacturing. The mono is a more efficient, gives you that nice black look, and of course a little bit more costly than that older poly technology. So that's the solar portion of the cell. The back sheet is a material called TPO. TPO is used in roofing applications, in many different applications. That TPO is what makes this what we call the world's first nailable solar shingle, because it actually just gets nailed on just like asphalt shingles do when you install, and we'll see that in the video in a little bit. And then the left part of the shingle is the wiring box. So that's where all of the all of the bus bars in the solar portion come together to those wiring outputs. And then each shingle is just clicked into the next one all the way up the column to create your electrical strings.
Diane, I have a question. Frank is one of our lead installer roofers. He has not taken a break, so I feel bad because he's probably getting tired. But I appreciate him showing off the product there.
Yeah. All right, let's view this video. This is the installation of a solar roof. There is some music here, but it's literally just music, so we've muted it. So here we are getting the roof ready. And again, the idea here is that this is a product that is installable by roofers. So we're booking in the asphalt shingles. Here is our solar shingle. You can see the nailing strip marked on that TPO strip. And you just go across and up, nail it in. Just a
I think important to note is they're walking on it. It's definitely walkable and durable.
Yep. So the wiring, did want to call this out specifically. The wiring is on other BIPV systems. The wiring is often buried underneath the panels. And this is just some of our employees having fun with the camera here. So with the wiring, I'm going to pause it so we can take a look. So the wiring is with many other BIPV and also traditional solar installations, the wiring is underneath the panels. That of course does protect the wiring, but makes it really hard if you have any problems with the system in the future. And so especially with a traditional rack mounted system, if you have a problem with a panel that's in the middle of your array, you have to pull up every single panel, potentially in that row or that column or both, in order, depending on how the wiring is done, in order to get to that panel that is causing you a problem, to be able to replace it. With our system, the wiring is accessible, right? It's just on the left side of each shingle there. You can just pop off those covers and troubleshoot, figure out whatever is going on with any individual shingle as needed. And if there is a problem, you can actually just remove one shingle at a time and replace it, just like you would fix a problem with asphalt shingles existing in your roof.
Diana, sorry if you already mentioned this, but it is direct to deck. So it is exactly, sitting directly onto the deck on top of the felt or the roof deck. Yeah, exactly. That's
correct. Yeah. So the stack up is roof deck, any underlayment, and then the shingles right on top.
Yeah, great.
All right. We already watched that. So let's move on. So end result, the solar is the roof is the solar. And it is a waterproof system that is going to protect your home or your business for many years to come. We think that this design, being able to have the watertight system is what really makes us stand out in this space, because you really are going to have a watertight roof. With that being said, I'm going to turn it back to Scott to talk about warranty.
Yeah, can you go back one slide? I think important to note here, GAF, we have manufactured a shingle that goes right in line with this. So it is a seamless integration. It does look built in. That's a 7 9/16 reveal shingle, and versus a standard 5 5/8 shingle. So again, very system. This is a system, roofing system, a kit, if you will, and that does come with those longer legged shingles that go right along with it. So just wanted to point that out because I think it is important to note. You know, it is one seamless system for weatherproofing and water tightness. I think, yeah, we're going to talk through here so, you know, I think, you know, one great aspect of this is, you know, with traditional rack mounting solar, you have a roofer that has a warranty, you have an installer that has a penetration warranty, you have a solar warranty, you have an inverter manufacturer's warranty, you have all kinds of different trades in the business that the homeowner or business owner would have to cover. So, you know, we like this one throat to choke, if you will. We have this 50-year, kind of leak coverage, 25-year solar coverage on the output as well. And I think it's just kind of an all-in-one coverage for leaks, power, energy, and production. And again, you know, having the existence of 100 years in business, it's kind of peace of mind for everybody when it comes to, kind of making sure that that home is protected. That's what we do best. And you know, it's great. It's assembled here in America. We have a factory in San Jose, California, and that is producing about 50 megawatts annually in terms of production capacity. And we have broke ground and are about ready to launch our Georgetown, Texas facility in Longhorn Junction, and that will be about a 5x capacity of San Jose. That San Jose will keep as kind of that design, and Georgetown will be 250 megawatts annually. So again, with the ability to scale. So I think we're starting to see with the Investment and Reduction Act and some of the things that are out there, really solar becoming and manufactured here in the U.S. is an important component, and we're proud to kind of lead the way on this change, bringing it back stateside here and manufacturing PV here. Again, talking about that Inflation Reduction Act, domestic manufacturing provision, made that promise to boost, that number of solar production made in the U.S. So on a traditional opportunity for a 30% investment tax credit that was up from 26 to 30, they also added through Section 48 of the ITC code that additional 10% incentive for domestic manufactured components. And so, we feel that we definitely qualify for that, making it in San Jose. And so there's some extra, incentive for this particular product. And I think that's important to note.
Do you know if someone is doing a roof replacement, and of course it's this, then in theory, does that tax credit also extend into the cost of the roof because it's the same thing?
I will give you my standard boilerplate that I've done for 12 years. Please consult your tax advisor.
Sure.
But I will tell you that there are conversations. We take a very conservative approach with our company. We like the solar energy shingle itself to be called out. But certainly I would not be I would not be providing all the data if I didn't say there are some that believe that because that shingle is specialized with the kit and it's a 7 9/16, and you can't go buy that at Home Depot or anywhere else, but you buy it with the energy shingle, that it is a system and the whole component can then qualify. But again, we try to be real conservative with that and just call out the energy shingle itself. But certainly that's worth exploring with your accountant or certified.
Now, taking that one step further, do new construction projects who are putting on solar typically get these tax credits as well, or is that a sort of check with your advisor kind of thing too?
No, I think that we've seen a lot of that. We do have a lot of new construction projects going in, and certainly because the offtake needs to be in the consumer's name. We kind of work through that with the builder. When does the builder actually transfer that power entity and that meter over to the homeowner? And then of course, we can facilitate that with the utility and the AHJ to make sure that is winding up in their hands instead of the other way around. There is also provisions for, third-party ownership or TPO, which then, allows for the additional 10%. So there is kind of some, you can unpack some additional ITC or IRA components. There's, low income housing has one. There's also, the mansion rule, which talks about, locations in the US that, were previously, from fossil fuel. And so there's a couple different aspects to this IRA. We didn't want to get too deep in the weeds on that. So we just kind of wanted to call out the one that was, most readily available for the domestic manufacturer.
Yeah, couple is an understatement, but we'll stick to these things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think this is important just to levelize and provide a little context. It's very, very quick math, but your average solar project costs here. I think I did see a question, I think, in the chat that came up about cost, and that's a big component here. So if you think about a solar production cost of $16,800 for a traditional solar, you get that that federal investment tax credit of 30%. The roof cost of $15,000, total net investment of $26,760. And if you go and look at the next slide, it kind of breaks it down in terms of, in simplistic formula. What we can say is that the cost of a solar roof, if you were going to replace the roof or put a new roof on, that roof price would be equivalent to adding a retrofit to a brand new roof. So again, you would not take a 5-year-old roof off and put this on in replacement of that. You would do this at the point of construction or remodel, or when the roof needed to be replaced, and those costs align. In other words, compared to a rack-mounted solution, this price point would fall right in line with a new roof and adding solar as a rack-mounted solution. So we are equivalent in cost in that cost stack. And I think the biggest thing that to call out here is the roofer handles the entire roof in solar installation. I think you get about a 50% labor time reduction is what we've seen between separate roof and a rack mount. It does go down, and it is installed by a roofer, so you're not calling in another sub. It removes that traditional solar trade and complexities from the job site. Full individual track design services are available. Cash and financing options are available. So kind of no roof penetrations, and our system's completely waterproof. I think those are the highlights of this product, is it's kind of a turnkey solar solution without punching a bunch of holes in the roof.
And maybe you're going to bring this up, but where do roofers get special training, special certification? How does that work? Right? If you're bringing it up, I'm happy to pause. So.
Oh, Diana.
Yeah, actually, we didn't have that included in the presentation, but I can talk about it a little bit. So GAF is a roofing business, and GAF Energy partners with those existing roofing contractors. They do have a certification process. The highest level certification is called Master Elite. And so GAF Energy works with those Master Elites to train them to install Timberline Solar. And the idea here is not that it's this big complicated product that needs all of the specialized training. It really is just a couple basics. The shingle does go on just like asphalt shingle, but teaching them how to do that portion of it, how to do the wiring. The roofer's scope ends at the top of that wiring column. So if you remember in the installation video, we saw them plugging in each shingle together. They get to the top. They get to, there's a box that's on the older versions of the system. There's a physical box that's installed up there, and that's where the roofing scope ends. After that, you have an electrician come in to complete the rest of the solar installation.
And I assume on the electrician side, it's your standard solar install at that point, right?
Exactly, yeah. So I am going to talk about that a little bit next. That after you get to, we use traditional residential string inverters. After you get to the inverter, it is exactly the same as any other type of residential solar system. That being said, I think we can jump right into this. So a little bit of the technical details on the shingle itself. So the solar portion of the shingle is 5 feet long, and that reveal, as Scott mentioned earlier, is 7 9/16. That is the width of that larger shingle. I did see one of the events is that shingle installed on the entire roof, and the answer is yes. It is a larger reveal to match the width of the solar cell itself. It actually goes on faster than traditional asphalt shingle because you get more coverage per course, and roofers actually love that. It is one of the innovations in the roofing industry generally that is a little bit separate from the solar portion. It just is a new and different thing in the roofing industry that roofers really love as well.
As the snow is falling across the country and probably where a lot of these folks are on the phone, talk about the weight a little bit, because I think that's an important distinction.
Yeah, so the weight of the assembly is 10 pounds for this entire shingle piece here, which translates to a little bit more than 3 pounds per square foot, which is approximately similar to asphalt shingle. So there's no added weight here. This is actually slightly less than your traditional asphalt shingle. And so you get the same exact weight on the roof as if you only had asphalt shingle on the roof. And so you don't need to account for additional weight as you do with traditional rack mounted systems.
Yeah, I think that's a big call out, especially in snow load areas, or, having to sister, sort of the joists and different things. There's not a lot that needs to happen there. So.
Yeah.
Well, and talking about snow, you on this traditional panel, you kind of get that sunny day and it falls off. Sometimes, you might want to put up a warning sign where it's falling. Does that happen with these as well? Slide off in that same way?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, it is a glass, a glass sheet on the top of the cell. It is textured so that you can walk on it. It is more durable than a traditional solar panel is. But yes, snow does slide off of it. And so we do recommend the use of snow brakes, similar to how you would do with traditional solar panels.
That was going to be my next question, because they don't recommend the standard snow rakes because they could scratch the panel. So I know they have these nice foam ones now.
Oh, no, sorry.
But yeah.
I meant physically those little teeth that you install at the eave, like above a doorway, right? You're going to have those little teeth that help break up snow as it slides off of a roof.
Oh yeah, no, that's interesting. I had never heard of that. But so yeah, if you wanted to do it yourself, I assume you wouldn't want to use a traditional rake, right? Because like you would use for a roof, like they're plastic and hard,
I mean, you could, yeah. I mean, it's designed to be, used and walked on, right? You would have to be, I guess, a little careful around the wiring, just so you don't pop one of those covers off accidentally.
Right.
But yeah, no, I mean, we aren't necessarily in the business of telling people to go sweep snow off their roofs in the winter, just because that's dangerous, of course. But no, what I was talking about was in order to help prevent that avalanche coming off your roof, which does happen with both traditional systems and with a roof like this. Yeah, installing at the eave, those they also called snow guards, brakes. Yeah.
I've never heard of that. That's so cool. Thank you.
Yeah. They're very common on metal roofs, particularly because snow also slides off of metal roofs significantly. And so you'll often see them all along the eave with metal roof installations as well.
Okay. Well, snow's on a lot of our minds right now. So
Of course, yes. All right, let's jump back in here. So we talked a little bit about the monocrystalline cell type. I did want to talk next about the inverter. So we do pair with Delta M series inverters at this time. This is just a traditional residential inverter, different sizes available. Our design team would, figure out both combination of how many shingles fit on your roof, and then also electrical characteristics to make it string together to one system. That being said, this whole system together is certified as a UL 7103 BIPV system. Was the first product to actually achieve that certification. And it is the entire kit, as Scott mentioned earlier. So it is the energy shingle, the asphalt shingle, currently the Delta inverter, and then the Delta rapid shutdown as well. So the rapid shutdown solution is for fire safety, right? So that when you lose lose power to the system, the entire array shuts down so that you can safely navigate around it in case of emergency. I do see some questions about solar edge and microinverters and stuff in the chat. So at this time, we are only certified with the Delta inverter, although that won't necessarily always be the case. About the certification generally, I did want to just harp on this a little bit more. So the UL 7103 certification is a comprehensive certification that goes through all of the roofing aspects as well as all of the solar aspects in order to make sure that this is one complete system. And so it's testing the roof for fire rating, for wind-driven rain, wind resistance, and then also testing the solar components for that rapid shutdown compliance, and all of the rest of the solar components as well. So it's actually a very difficult certification, and we are proud that we do have that in our pocket.
Did you talk about the wind speed rating on it? I don't know if that was somewhere on there. Oh, yeah, there it is. Thank you.
Yeah, so just a little bit more detail on that larger reveal shingle that we have. So that the system is rated 130 miles per hour for wind. We are still waiting on certification from Miami-Dade County, which for those of you who know, you know that Miami-Dade is the most difficult certification in terms of wind, because of course the hurricanes that come through there. But that is the only certification that we're still waiting on when it comes to wind related classifications. We do have Florida product approval. And so we are very confident in the ability for this to stay on the roof, just like you would expect a good asphalt shingle to stay on the roof as well. And yeah, so this is the asphalt shingle. It does come in multiple colors. We say it's 4 colors. There are 6 images here. That is because some of these colors do meet the cool roof requirement in California. So anything with the plus is one of those cool roof colors. As you can see, we have pretty fancy names for them, but basically the roof comes in black, dark gray, light gray, or brown, depending on what your needs are. So this is for the shingle that goes all the way around, the solar shingles, and the solar shingle itself only comes in the 1 color.
Great.
All right. That is, we do have, more pictures and such if people are interested, but that's the end of the content that we've prepared. Brett, I'll turn it back to you if you want to take us through Q&A.
Yeah, great. We do have a lot of questions here. I don't think we're going to get to all of them today, but a lot of fantastic questions. And I've got a couple things to show here for those who aren't going to be able to stay through all the questions, but we're going to try to answer as many as we can and hang out. So, going back to the roofer, let's say, again, I'm kind of putting myself in the shoes of a roofer who's watching this, or probably and most likely an architecture firm or contracting firm who manages their roofers, right? And or a homeowner who knows a great roofer, and they're like, I want to hire that roofer because they're great, right? So they're saying right now to themselves, how do I get my roofer, certified? What does that look like? Is there a cost to them? Are there any special programs that maybe cover their, time away from being in the field doing roofing for the cost of going through the training? Have you ever seen anything like that? Or so what does that look like from a cost standpoint and a timing and effort standpoint for these roofers to get this training?
So do you want me to take that? I'll take that. Sure. So right now, this project was introduced in January of 2022, and we made a very conscious effort to not expand further than we were able to provide product. And so as a result, this is not available to just anyone at this time. This is available through our roofing partnerships. So if you are interested in this roof, we would direct you to one of our existing certified roofers. That being said, we are still growing, of course. We are expanding our geographic footprint. We're expanding the number of roofers that we have in our program. And so eventually, we hope that anyone really truly can install this. But at this time, we didn't want to get over our skis with how much product we actually can manufacture and deliver to people who are interested in this product.
And maybe Diana, you can go to the next slide, which kind of shows our roofing partners there. But I think, we do have 180 roofing partners that are currently, installing this nationally across the country. We also have 8,000 certified roofers in our network. And so I think the point of this is on new construction, of course, if you're working with a contractor that does not use a GAF energy, certified roofer, we do have programs where we can come in and train existing roofing staff and electrical staff. So again, we're kind of a full service where, we'll meet you, where you're at. And so I wouldn't I wouldn't be remiss if I didn't say we can be, quite flexible with this, but again, the training, like Diana said, it's not that intensive, a day or two at the most. And then, you're off into the races. So really, I think we can facilitate, all kinds of different options if that's what's needed.
Okay, so it sounds like what I'm hearing is, maybe connect with one of these larger roofing companies, get plugged in with them. Maybe they want to expand. Who knows? They're already sort of connected with you, or reach out and see what opportunities there are. Kind of keeping it flexible. It's not like there's this training program and it's like we're training, down in Atlanta today. Yeah, cool. Well, that's good to know. And then on that same note, what about commissioning? I know some, vendors commission their systems, some have independent parties doing it. As far as I know, solar gets installed, code person comes out, looks up and is like, looks great, and checks the box. And then you're like, it seems like we need to start moving towards a commissioning world. So how have you thought that through, especially with a product like this?
Yeah, I'll take the first round here, Diana, and then I'd love for you to add. But I think we've got a designated person or two or three that are actually, because this is such a unique product, and the UL 7103 designated, a building, an actual piece of building technology. AHJs, municipalities, utility companies, the first time that we're introducing and installing in one of those areas, they kind of do we just kind of learned about traditional rack mounted PV. And so we do have folks that go across the country and help educate certain AHJs that this is, again, an integrated BIPV system where it's a shingle first and foremost with PV embedded into it. So it is a building material. And then we can kind of walk through the certifications that's needed, whether it's a roof permit, obviously a solar PV permit. But I think, every geographical location across the country has a little bit unique of a twist, but we're here to support that. And so I think, the idea is we're full services where, we can come in, and GAF has our own internal services in 17 plus and growing states where we can come in and do that ourselves. Or we can, again, train and kind of work alongside, builders as they bring this on. I think our ultimate goal would be to be in all 50 states with our services platform, but that takes another year or two to grow out. And so I think we've got some lofty goals on that, but eventually we'll be able to support the entire country with our GAF Energy Services piece that does the electrification and does all the permitting and all of that. Diana, did I hit all those high points?
I think so. I think the short answer, Brett, is if you're using GF Electrical Services, that is not just the electrical installation, but it includes permitting, it includes your utility interconnection. We're going to make sure that the entire system is up and running as soon as the installation is completed, and then the PTO, permission to operate, from the utility is granted. We're going to make sure that everything is working.
Great, yeah. We're going to keep trying to get to many of these questions, and we want to keep hearing from you all and getting your questions in there. But before we do that, I just wanted to remind everybody that you can catch this session if you missed some of it or want to rewatch it or share it. Help us share it across social media. Go to our YouTube channel right now, click subscribe. You'll get an instant update the second it is available in the next couple days here. And then from there, for those of you watching this course on demand, not right now, but in the future, take your quiz with an 80% passing rate, and then you will receive your CEU certificate. But for those of you who are here live today, check your spam from certs@gutenbergcerts.com. As long as you are here for the entire CEU hour, then you are dismissed now, though we'd love for you to stick around and keep talking, but you are dismissed for your CEUs, so check that at your spam. And then again, before we get into all these questions that are pouring in, we have to say a huge thanks to our board of directors, all of our volunteer speakers and volunteers, nearly 300 members, and our executive director, Jose Reina, as well as our top tier sponsors, Mitsubishi, Rheem, and April Air. They all have products that are going to help you build greener, more energy efficient, hit the green certifications, and achieve IRA funds back for what they're doing. So another question that kind of came in here, and you started speaking to the resiliency, right? We really need to start considering resiliency, and that's a big term. And so there's a couple different areas, obviously, solar plays in that. In regards to your specific product, we were talking about wind loads, and so we know winds are going to be increasing all over the place. In fact, most of our studies show that they're going up everywhere, and so we have to be able to design for those. So obviously, that the certification that you're going to be getting is going to be helpful there. But also temperature, right? Overheating. Our homes are going to be overheating. Even in colder climates, we're going to be facing extreme heat. So my question is, you talked about some of the ancillary shingles being reflective with the cool roof. But what happens when you have a solar roof shingle? Because my understanding of the elevated, PVs, the traditional, perhaps they're in some way absorbing some of that heat as energy, and they're preventing the house from overheating in those extreme days. I know they certainly work. They're less efficient in the heat. So how do these panels do that? Does that heat get absorbed? Does it still make its way down into the house like a normal, darker roof? And then also, does the heat reduce the efficiency like a normal solar panel?
Yeah, it's a great question. We went out and actually hired one of the top photovoltaic scientists in the world, Gabby, and brought her in, and that was the exact thing that we were searching for, right? How do we go direct to deck, make this a walkable, seamless, integrated shingle without displacing or absorbing too much of the heat, because that airway is important. And so she got to work on several different renditions and patented technologies that actually are sandwiched in between the shingle. There's about 6 or 7. Diana, you will know more, but there's definitely certain layers that displace the heat, that reflect the heat, that don't absorb it. And so I think there are some slight degradation to the heat basically being direct to deck, but I think we've mitigated a ton of that through the technology and through kind of the patented layering effect that we have sandwiched in between the solar cells, 3 to 4 layers on the bottom, a couple on the top, and that helps mitigate that. Diana, that was my broad answer, but.
Yeah, no, I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's important to note that this is not as efficient as a panel that has an air gap in the back. That is true. For us, we're looking at the trade-off of the waterproofing, the roofing aspect of it, the installation aspect of it, the cost, the aesthetic, right, and balancing that against the efficiency of the solar. So that is definitely part of any kind of direct to deck system like this. You are going to have more heat buildup in that solar stack, and that does lead to less efficiency. In terms of whether that actually goes into the house or not, I don't know how much science we have on that specifically, but yes, it is part of the roof, and so my gut would say yes, that does end up in the house. That being said, you are actually taking a lot of that solar energy and transferring it into electricity, right? That's what the solar is doing. And so for that aspect, it's not the same as just having a black roof, right? You actually are using a lot of that energy and transforming that into electricity. So I don't have data on that and what that would look like.
Okay. Is there any in goal to get the sort of cool roof rating for the actual solar itself? Is that even something they do?
Yeah, I think everything is under consideration. I think they are working towards, rendition 2 and 3 as we build this out. The mono PERC cells that we use, inherently handle, a little bit better transfer the heat right into PV, which I think, the mono does versus poly, and then you put the PERC on top of that, and it kind of helps mitigate some of that. But certainly, with the changing climates and what we're going through globally, I'd be remiss to say if our scientists are thinking about that. We don't have much more than that, but I do know that that's been brought up and that we are addressing that.
Another aspect of resiliency is, of course, uptime during power outages, right? Mm-hmm. And one thing, unfortunately, that we have to continue to spread the word about as a public service here is that I have to remind everybody that solar is useless when the grid goes down. I hate to say it to you all. A lot of people still don't believe it, and I don't want to, I want to be upfront with you all that it does nothing, and that's to protect line workers from that electricity going out and shocking them, or killing them on the line. And so it's a safety hazard. But there are ways around that. Of course, there are certain inverter systems that can give you some backup power. And then there are battery systems, of course. So in your case, does this system, I mean, you talked about a certain inverter. So I'm curious, does that inverter have a backup within it? Or are there any types of battery systems this system can work better with or not? Or is it just really open to any?
Yeah, so there is not a battery that's part of our the Delta M series inverters. There's no battery involved there. We are compatible with any AC coupled battery system. So that would include Tesla Powerwall, Sonnen, LG, right? So anything that couples on the AC side as opposed to the DC side. So for example, SolarEdge has a DC storage battery, right? So that is not compatible with this, but any AC coupled battery system is absolutely compatible. But I want to say thank you for bringing up that solar by itself does not work during an outage, because that is true. And the reason for that, I think, is more important, is that that's a safety issue. In my previous life, I worked for a utility company. And yeah, you don't want a house that is actively trying to put out electricity on a line when someone is trying to fix that line. So that is inherently a safety consideration, and important that. So thank you for bringing that up. But yes, any battery system, any AC battery system can be installed with this. I did see some questions about inverters and stuff that I'd like to just knock out.
Yeah, sounds like a good time. Go ahead and answer it. So yeah.
Great. So someone asked where the inverter is located. Can we use different inverters? Right. At this time, we're only certified with that Delta inverter, and it can be installed anywhere that you would install an inverter for a traditional solar system. So that's exterior, interior, interior specifically in a non-living space, so a garage. If you have some kind of electrical room, those are all fine. I did see a note about that inverters historically have a lot of issues. That's completely true. We do in our comprehensive warranty, we do include the inverter and the power electronics as part of that system as well. So if you do have a warranty for our system through us, and you did have an inverter issue, we would take care of that for you for the 25 years length of our warranty. That probably, if you are having an issue with inverter, that probably means an inverter replacement. But again, that would be incorporated in our warranty.
I think that's a huge point, Diane. I think that we don't want to understate that. Traditional warranties on this equipment, 10 years. To have that full balance sheet behind, a GAF, been around for 140 years, $10 billion. I think that's a pretty powerful statement there. So I just didn't want that to go by, because again, if you've seen in the past, inverter failure can create issues. Can you also real quick, Diana, speak about, I get this question a lot about the microinverters and why we're not using them because of the technology that we have with the diodes. Can you explain that a little bit? Because I get that a lot.
Oh yeah, sure. So I mean, microinverters, the issue with microinverters is that there isn't a place to put them, right? With your traditional rack system, they mount underneath the panel. And since we don't have an underneath the panel, there isn't a place to physically put them. And so that led to the decision to use a traditional string inverter. And what Scott was mentioning is that the way that the wiring inside the solar is arranged is such that if you do have some shading, it doesn't necessarily knock out the entire cell. I did also see a question earlier about are the shingles connected in series? And the answer is yes, just like a traditional series solar rack-mounted solar system. And so if you lose enough of them, then yes, you do lose that string. But the wiring is specifically arranged, and they're bypass diodes within the cells themselves in order to help mitigate the effect of shade or other issues blocking the sun on the shingle. So it's not the same as having microinverters, but we're trying to mitigate those issues as best as possible.
So my understanding of a solar shingle really is to solve, I mean, the way you all talk about it is to solve the issue of the sort of the roofer, they're installing solar, and that's great. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And so I suppose that is huge. And so the second, I think, reason that we had all come to sort of these solar shingles over the years was that the aesthetics problem. So in one hand, you've got, it's not even legal to put up these because of cities who have backwards laws, or homeowner associations who have backward laws. So yes, let's change the law. Okay, but that's hard. So wouldn't it be, and then you've got people who just think solar is ugly, and I'm one of them. I think it's very ugly, but I have it. But anyway, so how can it be that we can get this to a point where you don't even see it anymore? You've got, I noticed on some of the photos that you're getting close, and then some others, of course, there's a clear delineation. Is it possible? Can we ever get to that point?
Yeah, I think a couple things. So I think, I think I'll talk about the Elon effect here. Diana can appreciate this being at Tesla. But the solar tile that Elon has come out with, I mean, two things. He would walk out on the back lot and say, it's all about aesthetics. I want it to look a certain way first and foremost. And by the time it got done, the functionality of the equipment was so cost prohibitive that there was no adoption, and you can't get it. What we kind of did is looked at it from a different viewpoint. We looked at it from a functionality and a cost stack standpoint first and foremost, and are going back now with rendition 2 and 3 and 4 and down the line here over the next year or two, where we're working on the aesthetic look of it. And so I think, first and foremost, let's get the product that produces, let's get it out into the marketplace, and then we can kind of improve along that line, versus the other way, which was all about aesthetics first. And then it doesn't make sense because it's $100,000 and takes 2 weeks to put in, and there's too many parts. So I think that's kind of that short answer, the answer that I would. Diana, what's your thoughts on that aesthetically? I mean,
yeah, I mean, I think the answer to that is this isn't the last product that we will produce. There will still be innovation in this space. And for us, right, it's coming from that roofing background and making sure that it's a roof first. And there will be improvements to the aesthetic going forward.
And Brad, I should tell you one thing too. If you stand at the street and you're looking and you've got a normal pitched roof, we're showing you photos that, we're really hyper focused on the shingle itself.
Right.
When you're standing, it's interesting. We've got the demo at our factory, and as you walk closer to it, you lose sight of it pretty easily with the especially with the charcoal color. I think you're seeing some of the adoption of some of the other color schemes in there that make it stand out. But if you use the charcoal and it's on a normal pitched roof, your eye kind of it's not as obtrusive as kind of, obviously rack mount, but then it really does blend in a little, and you lose that sort of from standing there and looking up at the roof, you kind of the angle, you kind of lose the, that thing that we're kind of seeing on the photos here.
And as part of the reason you have to split it, I mean, that's really a fire code thing, right? Is that my understanding?
Yeah, in terms of
the sort of like you've got the sort of peripheral, the 2 feet I always understood, because it almost seems like if you could just bring it all the way, then you don't have the sort of breakup, right? Yeah,
that's correct. Yeah, so the IFC dictates that you need access pathways on a rooftop in order to allow emergency personnel to gain access to the roof. That is a very hot topic with integrated products like this with various jurisdictions, because you have more conservative code checkers who say, you can't walk on this, it is electrified, you have to maintain that pathway even if it's integrated with the roof. And you have others who are more open to that, but that's unfortunately down to the local jurisdiction and what they do and don't allow. The Tesla solar roof, for example, you can't tell, right? So you could theoretically have solar all the way across and you wouldn't even know. But Tesla, has that argument, frequently, do you actually need those pathways or not? And if the jurisdiction says, yes, you need those pathways no matter what, then, that's obviously going to be, a jurisdiction decision.
So it almost seems like this is a conversation that needs to get put to the electrical code, or not the electrical code, but the fire code.
Correct.
Talk about whether this is even necessary. And maybe if it's not, it's like, hey, that might solve most of the issue right here with aesthetics, right? If you can not have the change, right? Interesting. Anyway, one other question, from a roofing standpoint, we talk about rainwater catchment as a resiliency strategy and to reduce water. And, we get a lot of concerns about asphalt shingles because they could potentially, from a water standpoint, move heavy metals off of them into the water, which of course is going to be very expensive to filter. And, you certainly don't want those heavy metals going into groundwater either, but it's less of a concern unless if you're drinking it. So have you looked at sort of the runoff from your roofs? I understand you have asphalt shingles, so that's one thing, but from the solar side, is there any kind of heavy metals being collected as that water runs down? Is it something you've looked into?
Not that I'm aware of. No, I do know that top coat, the top polymer that is on there, is certified for that 25 years. I do not know if we've researched runoff from that, but that's a great point. I can definitely circle back with you, Brad, on that, because I'll take that as an action item. Good question.
And what about those who want to use metal roofing? Where does that come into play, or any other alternative? But I know metal, of course, if you're thinking of durability, you're thinking metal, right? That's your number one thought. So
yeah, I think again, I've seen some renditions of 2 and 3 and down the line here over the next year or two that there may be some compatibility with that. Right now, we're asphalt shingle. Just a statistic for everybody: 80% of the country uses asphalt shingle. I myself am located in Phoenix, Arizona. We're tile. We don't have a solution for that. So again, the metal and the tile, not yet. We started with the main demographic of that 80% of the country with the shingle, but soon to come. We're hopeful.
Mm-hmm. And I think we were talking a little bit about cost, but I assume there's probably some cost trade-offs when you eliminate the shingles. Is that correct? So what I'm saying is if you don't have to do a traditional roof with all of those shingles on them, and you're just doing the solar shingles, is there some sort of, I know it'll be more because they're generating solar, but what I'm saying is there a reduction in cost by not having to do those other traditional shingles in that area?
Diana, do you want to take that one?
You're asking because you're not paying for asphalt shingles in the area where the solar array is being placed. Is that your question?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Like you don't have to factor that. I mean, almost like if you're looking at a budget and the budget says roof and the budget says solar, your roof budget, and then you're just comparing traditional PV to roof and you're trying to make a decision.
Correct.
I'd assume your roof budget then in theory goes down.
Yes. Yeah, that's correct. I mean, yeah, you're covering, you need fewer squares of asphalt, right? Because most of that space is covered by the solar. Yes. That being said, the solar, it also has cost, right? So you're trading off a low cost asphalt shingle to a higher cost, right, solar producing shingle instead. So yes, your roof budget decreases slightly, but your solar budget also exists. So
which kind of brings us back to that net neutral. But again, like I think if you're looking at a traditional roof, our average system size is about an 8 kW system, which 5 squares, Diana, you think 5-ish squares out of an average house of 25 squares. So you can do the percentage calculation, but like Diana said, I think there's that cost stack added, right, for the solar. But then of course this pays you back over 25 years, which so you can do the math, and certainly there's the cost stack savings over time that energy shingle will provide versus
And I think actually, and I got a little, what I meant to more say is you're looking at traditional solar where you still have to pay for the shingle, you still have to pay for the traditional
yes,
solar.
I understand.
But then for yours, you don't have to. So I'd assume, does that still come out typically ahead overall, or is it the extra cost for an integrated solar sort of match it, or how does that usually? I'm sure it's subjective everywhere, but
it is. I think we have found if you're talking about tier 1 sort of Chinese systems panels with large solar integrators, we can play every day in that space and beat them competitively, or at least match them pretty closely. There are certain people that give away rack mounted systems, and we're not going to beat those. And there's certain times where we're a little bit more costly. So depends on part of the country, depends on the actual roof itself, the materials, all of that. But I think overall, we like to say we're pound for pound, we're pretty similar with them, even though, again, going back to that, we have a little bit less shingle, but that cost stack is a little bit higher in that square of energy shingle. But we are right in line with where traditional rack mount solar is with a new roof.
Great. Well, we are at our time right now, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up. But where can people go again just to learn more, get in touch, and reach out if they'd like?
Perfect. Yeah. So GAF.energy is our website. On the website, you'll notice for more information, if you're working with a builder, we have a builder specific column in our web portal. There's a banner up top. It's kind of in the middle. Just hit that, and there's an informational form. It'll ask you about the homes or who, the building. So building specific inquiries can go through that. It goes right to myself and Diana, or certainly the emails that are on the screen. Or phone numbers. We're directly available to answer any and all questions. And again, I think our job as we see it is really to be the information source for folks on this call. We want to help navigate the questions, and I'm sure there's going to be a ton more. But feel free to use us as a resource. That's our job. That's what we do, and we like what we do. So please use us.
All right, Scott, Diana, and then also Eileen, who's hanging out in the background and helped set all this up. I appreciate your time. GAF Energy, everyone, go check them out. Be well, stay safe out there, stay warm, and we'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you all.
Be sure to check out all of our courses available online that you can watch anytime and anywhere to pick up your CEUs. Before you go, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube to get weekly updates and stay up to date on green building science courses, webinars, and home tours. Thanks again.